right, so we've got some news involving the Los Angeles Rams. This is obviously a football team heading to the playoffs. They kind of had to survive a little bit against the New York Giants, but you have to win games like that on the road sometimes. And really, in the postseason, obviously the Rams are going to have to rely on winning games on the road. And a lot of times, those big time road wins rely on the kicking game to step up big time for football teams. That's been an issue for the Rams, but they quietly made a move right after their game Monday to kind of address the kicking position. Let's pull up the report from SI.com and we'll talk about it on the other side. Los Angeles announced Monday it waived kicker Lucas Havrisik, who missed 2 extra points in Sunday's 26-25 victory over the New York Giants and made just 4 of 9 field goals from 40-plus yards in 9 games. In place of Havrisik, the Rams opted to re-sign kicker Brett Maher, who was waived by Los Angeles after Week 7. So why the change? Rams coach Sean McVay revealed his team's clinching of a playoff berth Sunday played an important part of the equation. Getting into the playoffs definitely changes a little bit of the dialogue in regard to what we know we have coming down the pipe, McVay said. So we wanted to get somebody in here that had some experience. Maher is that guy that has had experience. I think McVay's got this right on the money here. This is a great move by the Rams, McVay. Anytime you're going into the postseason, especially if you're going to be on the road, we know these games are going to be brutally close. Look at all the sort of pre-playoff matchups we've seen over the past couple weeks. Miami, Dallas, that came down to a kick. Miami, Detroit, that was a 1 point game, right? A lot of these playoff-ish matchups, you look at the Rams against the Baltimore Ravens, right? That went into overtime. A lot of kicking potentially could have changed that game as well. These playoff type matchups involve kickers stepping up in big time moments. And the reality is, Maher has his issues, but he's experienced. He's been there before. He's kicked in NFL playoffs before. He has a lot of experience as a veteran NFL kicker. You at least know what you're going to get, and there's a certain expectation of consistency. There is some issues with Maher. That's why he obviously wasn't signed to another team. But I think having a veteran kicker who's been there before is the right move because you never want to turn into the postseason with an unproven guy, especially at a position like kicker, because making or missing kicks, usually if you miss these kicks in the NFL postseason, you're done. It's really hard to win football games. Maher gives you a chance. I think this was the right move by the Rams, moving off Havrisek, bringing Maher into the fold. And again, it's just another just smart move that Les Snead and Sean McVay have done. If you go back to the offseason, all through this regular season, this is a team that does things smarter than just about every other team in football, and this move is just further proof of that. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this move by the Rams and everything involving LA as they get ready for the postseason. But first, Rams fans, obviously, you got a playoff spot clinched up right now. Give us the one team you want to play in the NFC playoffs more than any other, right? Obviously, there's a couple different matchups. You're happy to be in the playoffs. You almost don't, I'm sure it doesn't matter who you guys play to a certain extent, but give us the one team you want to see in the wild card round, no matter what, the one matchup you're really looking forward to. And one other thing, look, one of the things we love about making football content is we get a lot of great feedback from really smart fans across all teams. That's why we've created a membership via YouTube. Check it out in the description box below if you want to support this channel as we try and create content to highlight smart moves and great moves that teams like the Los Angeles Rams do. Make sure you sign up and become a member of this channel. You can find a link in the description box below. But Myers, let me throw it over to you now. What do you think of this move by the Rams and everything else involving LA right now?
Yeah, Nick, I think this move was just a really smart move for the Rams, as we said, heading into the playoffs. Because to be quite frank, I hate to go talk about kickers because I've tried to kick recently, and it's a lot harder than it seems. But these guys are professionals, and when you miss 3 extra points, that is really tough. Those are the gimmies. Those are ones you gotta make. So I mean, it makes sense, especially from McVay's point. This is a team that lives or dies by scoring points right now. This is a team that, yeah, every point counts. Like we said, we saw how many close games the Rams have either won or lost this season. So when you can't miss the sure things, missing 3 extra points as a kicker, it just A shows there's a lack of confidence somewhere, and B is just unreliability. And a guy like Mayer, it just feels like he's the better fit for this team for the playoff push. Because let's be honest, Haversick, he's not a godsend at kicker. He's not banging out 60+ yard kicks all the time. You really don't gain anything by sticking with him. What you do by moving off of him is get a guy like Mayer, who you have a little bit more reliability, maybe don't have quite as much of a long ball left in him. He is not hitting from 50 plus as regularly as he used to. But like you said, he's got playoff experience. He is that veteran, mature kicker. He probably gets less shaken in big time moments. So those are what you gain. And I don't think you really gain too much by standing with Haversick. or I believe that's how you pronounce his name. We'll go with that. So I think overall this is a really smart, savvy playoff veteran move by Coach Sean McVay, who knows exactly how crucial 1 and 2 points in a game can make a difference, especially going up against the top tier opponents, Nick.
Well, especially considering as good as this Rams team has been, a lot of it is because they're relying on young guys, right? They had a phenomenal draft class, whether it's Nakua, whether it's Young, where it's Kobe Turner, whether it's Steve Avila, right? They've had a lot of young guys step up. But history dictates as you get into the postseason, the more rookies and young guys you rely on, the more variable your performance is going to be. And kicker is a position, right? Where it's binary. You make it or miss the kick. It's not like you have a decent pass rush and a bad pass rush and a really good pass rush where there's scales to performance, right? You make the kick, you score points, you miss the kick, you don't score points, the other team gets good field position. Like it is a brutal position, right? That's why the greats like Justin Tucker are really valuable weapons for the respective teams. This is a situation where the Rams recognize we need to have someone who's not going to be a variable young player. We need a guy who's going to be consistent. Because as good as the Rams have been playing down the stretch, the reality is, like I alluded to in the open, these playoff games are going to be brutally close, right? I think it's looking like now they're going to open up most likely at Detroit. That's going to be a heck of a game down to the wire. If they win that, they're either going to have to go to San Francisco, which is tough. Maybe they go to Dallas. There's a lot of different options that can open up. Those are going to be close competitive games where you are going to have to make your kicks in order to win. And at the very least, you're going to have to at least some sort of consistency in McVay's mind to determine, okay, in certain situations, fourth and short or whatever in opposing territory, do I take the points or do I go for it, right? And if you have a rookie, don't you think it's one of those things like, I don't know if he'd make this anyway. Maybe I'm more inclined to go for it when I shouldn't have. I think a veteran allows McVay to have like a clearer picture of when it's time to roll the dice on fourth down and when it's time to take the points.
Yeah, Nick, I think that's exactly the point. And kudos to McVay for going for it. So, as the Rams embark on their playoff journey, I'm excited to see how this move plays out for them because I just think this is a team, everyone's saying it. You don't want to face the Rams in the playoffs. And with a shaky kicker, maybe that was something you're like, well, we could get by them. Maybe they miss an extra point here. Maybe they miss a field goal here. With Mayer at the helm, I don't really think that's something you think of quite as much as far as this is a guy 39 and in, very good kicker, 50 plus, not so much. But in that case, you have a sure thing. You say, hey, we can go for it if we're plus over 50 yards away from the field goal. If we're 15 in, we have a guy who we're pretty sure is going to make it. So you got to feel good about being able to go for it in those situations as well.